Good evening. Welcome to episode 184. As always, let's start with our gratitude attitude. So, if you would please gently close your eyes. Take a deep breath. As you exhale, relax your body. Take another deep breath. As you exhale, let all your stress melt away. Take one more deep breath. As you exhale, completely relax your body. Now, think of one thing that you are thankful for that happened in the past week. Once you identified that, think about why you are thankful. And now let's set it free. If you're by yourself, say it out loud what you are thankful for and why. If you're with someone, tell it to each other. All right. So, we've been discussing Four Noble Truths for the last few weeks. And the Four Noble Truths are: you should know suffering, you should abandon origins, you should attain cessation, and you should practice the path. So, the first noble truth, we should know suffering. Right? We discussed where the suffering comes from. And we realize that all of our suffering comes from within us. We let outside problem disturb our inner peace. In the second noble truth, we realize that all suffering originates from our delusions, our anger, our attachment, our hatred, and so forth. And the root of all of our delusion is self-grasping ignorance, the strong sense of me, excessive self-concern about our own well-being, right? Our well-being at the expense of everyone else. In the third noble truth, we talked about we should strive to attain cessation from our suffering. In the longer term, it means cessation from the cycle of samsara, right? Liberation. But in our day-to-day life, that means cessation from cravings and practicing contentment. So today, we'll get into the last part of this, the fourth noble truth. It says we should practice the path. By practicing spirituality, living ethically, and developing wisdom, we can attain enlightenment. So Buddha taught what's known as eightfold path, so that we can liberate ourselves from suffering and achieve enlightenment. And that eightfold or eight paths are right understanding, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Let's get into it. Right understanding means that we understand the Four Noble Truths. We understand that as long as we are in samsara, right, in this cycle of birth, life, death, we are suffering. Now, we may be temporarily detached from suffering every now and then due to our karmic activity, right? We get this joy of X or joy of Y. But that is temporary. It doesn't last forever, right? And that's our problem. We're not blissful, joyful all the time, right? We're joyful for a short amount of time. And that's what we call temporary cessation from suffering, right? But we eventually end up suffering. And that all of our suffering originates due to our delusions. And we all have this seed of delusion, right? So when they ripen, it leads to suffering. Root of all of our delusion is our self-grasping ignorance. So we must work towards eliminating our self-grasping ignorance. We should understand that we need to strive to attain liberation, and that's the only way we can permanently be free from suffering. And lastly, that there is a way forward. If we follow the spiritual path, we'll attain liberation and even enlightenment, right? So that's the right understanding. If we understand this concept of Four Noble Truth, that's one-eighth of the path. The next is right intention. So what it requires is that contemplating that we have this enormous opportunity with our human life. And then death can be upon us at any time, right? As I speak, I could fall, drop dead, right? There's no guarantee. And then nothing lasts forever, no matter what you accumulate, right? Whether it's material thing or fame or whatever, right? Everything is an expiration date. It just goes away, right? If you look at the biggest leaders in the world, right? They're canceling them, right? So everything has an expiration date. And then our suffering is a result of our own karma. If we understand all that, then we can say, you know what? I'm going to stop negative karma. Let's start there. I'm going to start harmful actions. And then I'm going to develop goodwill and compassion towards all living beings. And then I'm going to cultivate non-attachment and non-harming, non-hatred, right? So that's the right intention. So that, okay, we understand this is how it works, this is how suffering works, right? So let's now make sure that we have good intention and that I want to make the most out of this human life. And I can't wait until I retire or I do this or I do that because I can be dead anytime, right? So I got to start now. And then since all of my suffering are a result of my own karma, why don't I at least start with not creating any more negative karma mindfully, right? Let's make that our biggest intention. So that's two, right? So far, so good. It's very easy. The third is right speech. And we talked about this at length during our karma class, right? That lying, harmful speech, divisive speech, and idle chatter are the four types of negative speech karma. Now, lying also includes omission of truth. And we talked about the Mahabharata story of Aswathama, the elephant versus the Aswathama, the guru, right? And how, because of that, Yudhishthir, even though he didn't, lie, that was his only lie in his entire life, ended up, you know, seeing Nark or, hell, right? Just for a brief moment, but he did have to see that. The harmful speech is any speech that hurts someone else. So that's why before we say anything, right, we talk about, we should ask, is it true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? And the answer is no to any of them, we don't say it at all. Divisive speech is a speech which creates fights within groups of people. There's a lot of that going on in our society nowadays, right? With media and this and that. And then the idle chatter is things we talk about which has no, it's just, we just time pass, right? But it prevents us from, takes us away from practicing spirituality, right? So that's why that is bad. So right action, right speech again, not that complicated, I think. Next is right action. So this is again we talked about in karma. This is the physical action. This is a physical karma, right? Meaning we avoid three bodily negative karma: killing, stealing, sexual misconduct. And we talked about this also that most people think, hey, I haven't killed a human being, so I'm good. I'm not a murderer. But if you kill a mosquito with a vengeance, it's as bad or worse than killing a human being. So we should be mindful of our action. Stealing means anything that is not freely given to you. So if you sneak something, that's stealing, right? If you steal intellectual property from your company, that's stealing, right? I mean, not when you're taking it, you're not thinking stealing, but you're taking it, right? Something which is not freely given to you. Sexual misconduct is having a sexual relationship with anyone other than your partner if you're attached. If we are not attached, having a relationship with someone who is attached is sexual misconduct. And then in general, any sexual activity without consent is considered sexual misconduct. So that's the right action. So far, so good, right? Right understanding, right intention, right speech, right action. I think we can follow this so far. Right livelihood is the next one. So if you're a monk, the right livelihood means living from donation from others and never taking more than your needs. But for the rest of us, it means having an ethical livelihood. So according to Lakshmi Chandra, we should avoid livelihood by the means of begging, loan sharking, bribery, living by a profession where it causes suffering to other beings, such as meat and leather industries, munition industries, brewing, selling alcohol, drugs, etc. And superintending mines and factories is also forbidden because it leads to corruption, harshness, exploitation of poor, and so forth. Okay. It also talks about environmental effect with polluted factories and whatnot. I wonder if they had factories when there was Lakshmi Tantra, but that's what it says, so I'm going to stick with it. Next is right effort. It means we should consistently try to develop good qualities. We should try to practice virtuous karma. We should try to avoid negative karma, right? We should try to maintain positive states of mind and avoid negative states of mind. Because if you think about it, all of our suffering comes from negative actions, and all of our happiness comes from positive actions. So it's very important to make an effort to practice virtuous karma. Next is right mindfulness. And that means that being fully present in the moment. We observe our body, our feelings, our thoughts, our emotions with non judgmental awareness. Right? We abandon the attachment and aversion. And all it means that we are aware of what we are doing. No autopilot. Right? More than half of our day runs in autopilot, it seems. No instinctive reaction. We respond rather than react. And to practice this, all we need to do is every now and then, maybe every hour, we talked about, taking 5 deep breaths every hour, puts you in mindful, uh, you know, moment. If you don't want to do deep breaths, just ask yourself every hour, where am I in this moment? Right? What's around me? And then you'll be, aware of what's happening rather than just reacting to what's happening. And then lastly, right concentration. And we try to do this every week. We try single pointedly focusing on an object of our meditation, right? And with enough practice, we can develop a stable mind which avoids harmful thoughts and actions. When our mind is focused, we can develop tranquil abiding that can lead to liberation. So I know it looks heavy, but if you think about it, it's very practical stuff. And 90% of things we are already doing, what we are not doing with enough mindfulness, I think we can make sure that we are doing, right? So I'm just going to read this eight one more time so that we are all on the same page here. Right understanding, right? Right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. So if all of this makes sense, we looked at the Four Noble Truths over the past month, and hopefully we can practice the path and develop our spiritual practice. So in today's meditation, let's do absorption of cessation of thoughts. So those of you who haven't done this before, in this meditation, we pretend that we are a piece of wood. If you think about it, a piece of wood has no thoughts, it has no emotions, it has no feelings. So we just stay still without thinking anything. Say, I'm a piece of wood and that's it, right? Now, this question comes up every now and then, so I'm going to repeat that even though a piece of wood does not breathe, we do want to keep breathing. Okay, so let's begin. Please get into your meditation posture, your back straight, spine upright, shoulders leveled. Gently close your eyes. Keep your mouth just a little bit open, so any stress you may have in your jaws will dissipate. Palms in your lap, right over left, thumbs gently touching each other. Take a deep breath. As you exhale, see all your stress dripping away. Take another deep breath. As you exhale, let your body completely loose like a rag doll. Bring your attention to the sensation of your breath at your nostrils. Feel the cool air as you breathe in. Feel slightly warmer air as you breathe out. Now bring your attention at your heart. Imagine everything that happened before this moment melts into light and disappears. Things that have not yet happened are not real anyway. So it's just this moment. Enjoy the peaceful nature of your root mind in this moment. Let this peaceful moment bring the next peaceful moment. Remember, there is nothing to do. There is nowhere to go. Just enjoy. Now, imagine you are a piece of wood. A piece of wood has no thoughts. It has no emotions. It has no feelings. So stay still, just like a piece of wood. No thoughts. No feelings. No emotions. Just stay still. You're ready? Gently open your eyes. Any questions? Okay, no questions.